Interest rates are like the price of money. When you borrow money, you pay interest. When you save money, you earn interest. Simple, right? These rates matter because they influence how much people spend and invest. Lower rates make it cheaper to borrow, encouraging spending and boosting the economy. Higher rates, on the other hand, make borrowing more expensive. This can slow down the economy by discouraging spending and investment. Think of it like this. Interest rates are the brakes and gas pedal of the economy. In the United States, the Federal Reserve, or the Fed, sets a key interest rate called the federal funds rate. This rate is crucial because it serves as the foundation for all other interest rates in the economy, affecting everything from mortgage rates to the interest on your savings account. This rate influences all other interest rates in the economy. When the Fed adjusts the federal funds rate, it sends ripples through the financial system, impacting borrowing costs for consumers and businesses alike. The Fed's job is to keep the economy humming along smoothly. This means ensuring that economic growth is steady and sustainable, without causing runaway inflation or high unemployment. It wants to see steady growth, low unemployment, and stable prices. These three goals are often referred to as the Fed's dual mandate, promoting maximum employment and maintaining stable prices. To do this, the Fed adjusts interest rates. By raising or lowering the federal funds rate, the Fed can influence economic activity. If the economy is sluggish, the Fed might lower rates to encourage borrowing and spending. Lower interest rates make it cheaper for businesses to take out loans for expansion and for consumers to finance big-ticket purchases like homes and cars. If the economy is overheating, the Fed might raise rates to cool things down. Higher interest rates can help prevent the economy from growing too quickly and causing inflation, which can erode purchasing power. It's a delicate balancing act. The Fed must carefully consider a wide range of economic indicators and data to make informed decisions. Too much intervention can stifle growth, while too little can lead to economic instability. The Fed's actions are closely watched by investors, policymakers, and the public, as they have far-reaching implications for the economy. The Fed's decisions are not made in isolation. They are influenced by global economic conditions, geopolitical events, and domestic factors such as fiscal policy and consumer behavior. In today's interconnected world, the Fed's actions can have ripple effects across the globe. For example, a change in U.S. interest rates can impact currency exchange rates, international trade, and foreign investment. Understanding the Fed's role and its impact on the economy is crucial for anyone interested in finance, business, or economics. By keeping an eye on the Fed's actions and the economic indicators it monitors, you can gain valuable insights into the health and direction of the economy. Whether you're a business owner, an investor, or simply someone who wants to make informed financial decisions, staying informed about the Fed's balancing act can help you navigate the complexities of the economic landscape. The Fed's balancing act is a continuous process, requiring constant vigilance and adjustment. As the economy evolves, so too must the Fed's strategies and policies. By understanding this dynamic process, you can better appreciate the challenges and responsibilities that come with managing the world's largest economy. A half-point interest rate change might seem small, but it can have a big impact on the economy. Think of it like a ship's rudder. A small turn of the rudder can change the ship's course significantly over time. Similarly, a half-point rate hike can ripple through the economy, affecting everything from mortgage rates to car loans to business investments. These effects might not be immediately apparent, but they can accumulate over time, influencing the overall direction of the economy. The U.S. economy is sending mixed signals. On the one hand, unemployment is low and consumer spending remains strong. On the other hand, inflation is still high, and businesses are grappling with supply chain disruptions and rising costs. The Fed is trying to navigate these choppy waters. It has already raised interest rates several times this year in an effort to tame inflation. The question is, will it be enough? The housing market is particularly sensitive to interest rate changes. Higher rates mean higher mortgage rates, which can make it more expensive to buy a home. This can cool down the housing market, as fewer people are able to afford to buy homes at higher prices. We've already seen this happen in recent months, as rising mortgage rates have contributed to a slowdown in home sales. A half-point rate hike could further dampen the housing market, making it even more challenging for buyers. The job market is sending mixed signals as well. On the one hand, the unemployment rate is low, and businesses are still hiring. On the other hand, some sectors like tech and finance have seen layoffs in recent months. A half-point rate hike could slow down job growth as businesses become more cautious about hiring in the face of higher borrowing costs. However, it's important to note that the relationship between interest rates and job growth is complex and not always predictable. Higher interest rates don't just affect consumers, they also impact businesses. When rates rise, it becomes more expensive for businesses to borrow money to invest in new equipment, hire new employees, or expand their operations. This can lead to slower economic growth as businesses pull back on spending and investment. However, some businesses may benefit from higher rates. For example, banks and other financial institutions may see their profits increase as they can charge higher interest rates on loans. Section 8. Inflation expectations, a psychological tug-of-war. Inflation expectations play a crucial role in the overall economic landscape. They are essentially the beliefs that consumers, businesses, and investors hold about the future rate of inflation. These expectations can significantly influence economic behavior and decision-making. One of the most important channels through which interest rates affect the economy is through inflation expectations. When the central bank, such as the Federal Reserve, adjusts interest rates, it sends a signal to the market about its stance on inflation. This signal can alter the expectations of future inflation among the public. If people expect prices to rise in the future, they may demand higher wages to keep up with the anticipated increase in the cost of living. This is particularly true in labor markets where workers have the bargaining power to negotiate their salaries. On the other hand, businesses, anticipating higher costs for goods and services, may preemptively raise their prices to protect their profit margins. This behavior can create a cycle where higher wages lead to higher prices, which in turn lead to demands for even higher wages. This cycle can result in a self-fulfilling prophecy of higher inflation. When everyone expects prices to go up, their actions can actually cause prices to rise, thereby validating their initial expectations. This phenomenon can be particularly challenging for policymakers to manage. The Federal Reserve tries to manage inflation expectations by signaling its intentions clearly and acting decisively to keep inflation under control. This involves not only setting interest rates, but also communicating its policy goals and strategies to the public. For instance, when the Fed announces a rate hike, it is sending a message that it is committed to fighting inflation. This can help to reassure the public and anchor their inflation expectations, making it less likely that inflation will spiral out of control. A half-point rate hike could be seen as a sign that the Fed is serious about fighting inflation. Such a move can have a significant impact on the economy by influencing borrowing costs, consumer spending, and business investment. By taking decisive action and clearly communicating its intentions, the Fed can help to anchor inflation expectations. This is crucial for maintaining economic stability and ensuring that inflation remains within a manageable range. The psychological aspect of inflation expectations is a powerful force that can shape the economic landscape in profound ways. To understand the potential impact of a half-point rate hike, it's helpful to look at past episodes of interest rate changes. History doesn't repeat itself, but it often rhymes. By studying past rate changes and their consequences, we can gain insights into how the economy might respond to future rate hikes. However, it's important to note that every economic cycle is unique, and what worked in the past might not necessarily work in the present. One of the most well-known examples of interest rate hikes is the early 1980s. Under Fed Chairman Paul Volcker, the Fed raised interest rates dramatically to combat runaway inflation. These rate hikes were successful in bringing inflation under control, but they also triggered a severe recession. The lesson from the 1980s is that while interest rate hikes can be effective in taming inflation, they can also come at a cost in terms of economic growth and employment. It's also important to consider the global context when thinking about interest rate changes. Interest rates are not just numbers on a chart. They are powerful tools that can influence economies on a global scale. When central banks adjust these rates, the ripple effects can be felt far and wide, impacting everything from consumer spending to international trade. The U.S. economy is not an island. It is deeply interconnected with the global economy. Every decision made by the Federal Reserve can have far-reaching consequences. For instance, when the U.S. raises its interest rates, it can attract foreign investment, as investors seek higher returns. This influx of capital can strengthen the U.S. dollar, making it more valuable compared to other currencies. It's interconnected with the rest of the world through trade, investment, and financial markets. The global supply chain means that goods and services are constantly moving across borders. A change in interest rates can affect the cost of borrowing for businesses, influencing their ability to expand and invest. This, in turn, can impact employment rates and economic growth in various countries. Higher interest rates in the U.S. can attract capital from other countries, leading to a stronger dollar. A stronger dollar can have mixed effects. On one hand, it can reduce inflation by making imported goods cheaper. On the other hand, it can hurt U.S. exporters, as their goods become more expensive for foreign buyers. This delicate balance is a constant challenge for policymakers. This can make U.S. exports more expensive and imports cheaper, potentially widening the trade deficit. A larger trade deficit means that the country is buying more from abroad than it is selling. While this can benefit consumers with lower prices, it can also lead to job losses in export-driven industries. The trade balance is a critical indicator of economic health and must be monitored closely. Moreover, many countries around the world are heavily indebted. These debts are often denominated in U.S. dollars, meaning that when the dollar strengthens, their debt burden increases. This can strain national budgets and limit their ability to invest in essential services like healthcare and education. The global debt situation is a ticking time bomb that requires careful management. Higher interest rates in the U.S. can make it more expensive for these countries to service their debts, potentially leading to financial instability. When countries struggle to meet their debt obligations, it can lead to a cascade of economic problems, including defaults and recessions. This interconnected web of debt and interest rates underscores the importance of coordinated international economic policies. The world is truly awash in debt, and navigating these waters requires careful, informed decision-making by leaders around the globe. Predicting the future is impossible. The impact of a half-point rate hike will depend on a multitude of factors, including the trajectory of inflation, the strength of the labor market, and the response of consumers and businesses. The Fed will need to carefully monitor the economy and adjust its course as needed. One thing is certain: the coming months will be crucial in determining the path of the U.S. economy.